Cool. All right. Nikhil and Anand Madhab. So Madhab, I want to say your name Madhab, but it's Madhab. No.
Yeah,
How you have to enunciate your name for me. How is it?
it's like mother.
Okay. All right. Oh shoot. I'm gonna keep trying. There's Nikhil. Good. I just got off the phone with Garish, so he's gonna join. Do you guys? Are each of you guys in a location where you're in front of your computer by chance? And so,
Sorry, I want to see your name, Mara, but it's
yeah, Nikhil, I'm gonna have to keep practicing. I think your name is easier for me. Um, are real quick confirmation? Are each of you guys in front of your computers?
yeah.
Good deal.
Yes, yes.
Good deal. Hey, Subham. There he is. All right, good.
I
Hey, guys, Subham. Okay, gentlemen, let us maybe organize our call like this if we could. I think maybe just two parts to the call. The first part being an opportunity for each of you to demo current work that you have in flight and get some feedback on work that you have in flight. And when we're kind of done with that stuff, to use the other part of the call to talk about design and new enhancements and features and new things for you guys to work on. Another thing that I want to call out too is that I know Anand and I had a lot more success with our bandwidth when we were using Skype. Um, I, I don't want to switch to Skype if we don't have to, but depending upon how much bandwidth we have today, maybe we would switch. So having said that, good. Hey, I'm excited that we're talking. So, oh, that's funny. Okay, yeah, Subham, I think you show up as Madhab, or no, as Nikhil. No, Nikhil, you're just on twice. Okay, cool. Anyway, great. Let's get started. Actually, Madhab, maybe to pick on you, not really to pick on you, but just because I know that you've made progress on the copy to clipboard effort that you've been doing. Maybe that's something that you could share with the rest of the team.
Okay.
And so while Madhab brings this up, I'll just give some context to say
So
that on the
everyone can see my screen.
yes.
So right now I'm working on this operative clipboard, this one. So when you click this button, this particular line, so copy in the clipboard. So when you paste it, we can show this.
That's very nice. Madhav, are you using the Clipboard JS library?
Yeah. I use the clipboard. Yes, it's a CDN that I've used.
Nice. Even better. Okay. So Madhav and I talked about this effort just a little bit ago, so I'll give the same feedback I gave earlier and then let others comment as well on the work and ask questions. The three pieces of feedback I had are: the work looks great, thank you, it's working, and that's exactly what we're looking for. If we could even I know it's a work in progress, so you probably were already going to do this, but if we could reduce down to just one copy button, and instead of having text, if we could have the small like clipboard icon, and maybe instead of even showing it at all, only show it when on hover, when someone hovers their mouse over the three lines. So Madhav, I think you're already aligned on that. I think you're already working towards that, but I'm just repeating it for the benefit of everybody else.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I will do it.
That's nice. Who else has feedback or questions for Madhav on that work? I'm gonna call out Subham real quick.
Actually, I uh, actually I was talking to a mother. I yesterday. So you were saying that copying the three commands better good, but I think maybe copying three lines. When you try to paste it, the three lines will be executed one after another. So maybe the problem arises when it may cause user inconvenience. I think that maybe three separate lines can be copied.
Okay, you mean to say you have to keep like
Will be
three
better
separate buttons?
for user experience.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Do others have a perspective here on what's more convenient for users? You know, kind of between one button to click or clicking three times and pasting, you know, copying and pasting three times.
It will be better if we have if we copy three buttons, because if we click a copy one time, the whole three commands will be copied at once. So sometimes maybe it can be a problem for the user who are who is or are trying to copy. So individual copy button will be better, I think.
Okay.
Uh, have you guys experienced, you know, when you copy multiple lines of text and you go to paste them into your terminal, have you guys experienced any issues with pasting multiple lines into a terminal?
Yeah, actually, previously using your web tool, we try to update or something, install your software. So we need to copy multiple lines. So it may create sometimes problem and sometimes it's convenient.
Makes sense.
Um, yeah, hey guys, I'm sorry. I just had to step out for a second. I'm kind of like with Lee on that, like where I think it'll just be nice to have. I mean, I think it's okay to actually copy multi lines because most of the terminals so they have the capability to kind of interpret them as separate lines. So I've not seen them as a potential issue. Yeah. So instead of having three separate lines, I mean, you could actually copy them as one. I mean, the other thing I could say is you can, if we don't want three separate lines, we can actually maybe join them with a semicolon or an ampersand, like a double ampersand, so that that way, this will actually become much more easy to read. Maybe the first two lines can actually be merged into one, and the Meshery start can actually be a separate line. And the reason for that is when you're copying lines with pseudo, And if you try to copy multi-lines, the first line will actually interrupt the user to enter the password. So in that regard, copying multi-lines might actually present an issue, but if they are put in the same line, there is a higher chance that it might actually work well, because since the second command is going to actually wait for the first one to execute and complete, I think there is a higher chance that it will actually wait and then kind of carry forward. And again, if you enter the password for the first sudo command, it usually doesn't ask for the second command. So, we could do something along those lines. So having, maybe a single copy might actually be helpful in that direction. That's just my feeling.
Yeah, one thing I was going to add about when it is that users might like to just do single line copies is if there's a lot of statements and they're uncomfortable with what they are and they just want to be really careful with what they're executing or just understand it. And then that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. They can also just read what's there before pasting each of them. I think if they were actually really security conscious, they would, before they paste even the first one, they would read through all three and determine whether or not this is something that they want to perform. The primary reason behind why it is that I was considering that there's probably just a single copy for all three statements is because the reality is, if we could get it all into one statement, actually I think we would, because ideally we wouldn't even have three statements, it would just be one, because the point of what we're trying to facilitate is really this. It's the notion that a user said, oh, I'd like to try out Meshery. How do I install that? And if they could just click a button, or if they could just snap their finger and have Meshery, that would be wonderful. The fact that they've got to open up a terminal or execute multiple lines, or is the way that our open source world works and our Linux world kind of works. And so that's, ideally that's not the way it would be forever. There are, and you guys, Subham, Nikhil, Madhav, and Anand, you guys probably could readily call out some alternative mechanisms for installing Meshery. And I'm going to list them out because I think that these are potential things that we want to facilitate. So one of those methods, like the closest to what we're doing right now, is to do a curl command piped to bash or piped to shell. So where someone would run curl, they would download a script and they'd pipe that to the command prompt or to shell. And then we would execute all these different, whatever we wanted to execute from within there. But speaking of security conscious folks, even those that aren't particularly security conscious get a little bit nervous about running a script that they're not familiar with, on their system. And so there are lots and lots and lots and lots of examples of projects that install in that way. We didn't do that because I think Garish and I probably both feel like, people have swallowed it and sort of accepted it, but they don't really like it. And so since ours was simple enough to be captured in three statements, it was like, hey, let's just provide them the three statements instead. I think going forward, you'll talk to a Ubuntu user, or you'll talk to a Fedora or Red Hat or user, or a Debian or what have you, and they'll tell you, look, I manage my apps through the package manager, RPM, or apt, or yum, or brew, and so I think the reality is actually to the extent that we as a community can, and actually, Grish, you've got some activity in the background there. I wonder if.
Oh, sorry.
To the extent that we as a community can sustain it or manage to create an RPM, to create a yum package, to create a brew formula, etc., I think that would be wonderful, because I think of what Anand was originally saying. He's saying like, hey, people have different preferences. Like some people really might prefer single line statements like that. That's what's comfortable. That's what they're used to, or for whatever reason. And so, yeah, to the extent that we can give them choice, that's a good thing. To demonstrate the fact that the community believes in that, I'll say that there's a relatively new contributor. I introduced his name last week. He hasn't been on the call. His name's Kieran Smith. He's working on a brew cookbook formula for Meshery CTL. I think he's going to show for tomorrow's community meeting. I think he'll demonstrate it there. I'm going to ask him to. And so, anyway, just a little bit of context as to like, I think like, hey, all of the above is correct. You know, like, hey, there are reasons for these things. To kind of decide on this particular issue, let me make a proposal and see if this resonates with you guys, if this would work. If we did provide, so our, again, kind of in context of like trying to get people to deploy Meshery as fast as they can, if we gave them one button to copy the multi-line statement, but allowed them to also highlight and select the text with individual lines if they want to, do you guys feel like that would be a good compromise?
Sorry, can you repeat once more?
And Subham, I think what you said was, hey, can I repeat what I said? Probably, yeah. Okay, so here's a proposal.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a proposal. What do you guys think? If we gave them one button that copied all 3 lines, but also gave them the ability to select individual lines, is that a good compromise? Like, do you guys think that that would be the best of both worlds?
This was the same thing that I was thinking right now. When Geese said about this, I thought the same thing. That if the user got the opportunity to select either line by line or all of this together, it would be better for them because different users wanted different things. Some of them may prefer that we want to copy all of them together, while some may prefer that we want to copy line by line. So it would be a better thing that if we give the user the advantage to choose whether he wants to copy line by line or all of them together.
I totally agree, Nikhil.
I'm actually okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that as well. Yeah, cool.
And then Anand, maybe just to, I know your audio was probably going in and out, but if you're able to see the chat, there's a proposal in there. Feel free to express your opinion if you would.
Yeah, fine with both. Okay.
Nice. Okay. I think what you were saying is, yeah, hey, we could do both.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, very good. Madhav, looking good. Who's next? Or who else has something they're working on that they want to show? Lucy, Hush.
Actually, I was working on actually, I was working on to uh, check whether the patterns are running or not. So, am I audible?
Mostly. you're cutting in and out a little bit, but yeah, if you have something you'd like to show, please do.
Uh,
Okay, fair enough. I think Anand, probably what I'm guessing what you're saying is that you're not necessarily in front of your computer, that the bandwidth that you're connected over right now is probably prevents you from sharing and etc. Um, so maybe I would speak to the PR that you submitted just a few hours back. Looked fantastic. I think that's been merged, so thank you for that. There's a little bit of there's a few tasks, a few chores, if you will, that I was just going around to each of our repositories and trying to ensure that they were fairly consistent, consistent by GitHub issue templates, by some of the things that are said in the READMEs. Subham, actually, as we turn maybe the focus to you, maybe you want to speak to the project badges that you were recently proliferating across the repos?
I don't think it is from my side. I think this permission
Well, here's the challenge, Subham. We couldn't hear you. I'm sorry, man. Let me monologue to you. And okay, very good. As you type, I'm going to say what I think you might be saying, or I'm going to explain a little bit of the feedback that I had on the work that you were doing, which was good work. So for context for everyone, one of those chores, if you will, one of those tasks for making sure that we have a well curated and well organized set of repositories, a well organized open source project, is to, well, show some quick statistics to people, show them that this is a project that the community supports, and let them understand very quickly the status of the project. And if I could get this page to load correctly, maybe I would show that. Okay, weird. I don't know if you've noticed that there are badges here. These are quick badges that show you statistics. Like there's about 380 people registered on Slack. That of the Go report, we're getting an A currently. Our last build in Travis failed for Meshery. Just these quick pieces of information are helpful to people and nice to see. Subham is helping us get those same badges across other repositories. And Subham, the feedback that I have is just a slight tweak of what you've done, so we'll use this as an example. So this repository is Meshery-Istio. And actually, before I keep talking, let me check to make sure you didn't send a bunch of things in chat. So yeah, okay, when I was done doing a PR in Meshery Octarine, there's some issues with permission denied. Oh, okay, all right, we'll go take a look right now. And Anand has the same permission denied issue. Okay, let's figure that out now, and let's also talk about the feedback here. So first, the feedback, which is of what you submitted, it looks spot on. There's just a minor tweak, and that's as you've copied this from the main Meshery repo. If you can do a quick update, to include the actual repo name here, which is Meshery-Istio. And so this URL would need to be updated to point to Meshery-Istio. So for Docker Hub, for Travis CI, for the Go report card, and for the GitHub link, for the GitHub issues, but these right here stay the same. The website, the Twitter followers, and the Slack, those are all universal across all the repos. But I think it's these other ones that are going to be repository specific. So good. So I think you understand, yeah, if you're able to come back and just do a quick update to link specifically to that repository will be good. Going to your other, okay, very good, cool. I just read your text, your chat, and so you understand and you'll take care of it, awesome. But to make sure that everyone has the ability to clone and PR changes to the Meshery Octarine repo, let's take a quick look. Everyone should be able to. That repository was treated slightly different because the creator, the maintainer of that adapter, had requested different permissioning there. And so that one has been treated a little bit separate, but a little bit special. It shouldn't prevent you guys from contributing though. So let's go figure that out. Let's go take a look. So in GitHub, come on. In GitHub, GitHub has different ways of permissioning your repositories and different ways of configuring its behavior and who can do what. In our case, we're leveraging the concept of teams. And so there are a few teams defined within the Layer 5 IO organization. So I'm going to show you guys what those are. So here's the Layer 5 IO org. There are 4 teams defined today. And here's the interesting bit. There is a contributors team within which there are currently 23 members, and those are a variety of individuals from various organizations and companies that have come to collaborate, that are community contributors, right? And so the way that GitHub teams and hierarchical permissioning works is like this, is that the contributors team is treated as a parent team to something like the NSM maintainers team. And as such, the NSM maintainers team, since it's a child of the contributors, it inherits all of the permissions from its parent. And so the way that these get organized is the way you set it up is that you would have the least amount of permissions at the very top of the hierarchy. And as you go further down through multiple levels of child teams, that you then have even more permissions are opened up. So maybe this needs to change. This is how our teams are set up today. If we go and look at the contributors team, which is where almost all of us are, including each of the 4 of you, what we will hopefully come to understand is, like, let's use Anand as the example. So Anand is a member of the team. What permission does this team have to the Octarine repo? It doesn't seem to have any special permission because we're not seeing Octarine listed here. That means that you guys probably only have read access and can't perform a write operation. So let's fix that, because that shouldn't be the case. So good, here's Meshery Octarine. We'll bump it up such that everyone that's a member of the contributors team has write access. And good, that's it. That should fix the issue. So now Subham and Anand and Nikhil and Madhav, you guys should all be able to write to the repo. Good. Nice. Okay, good. Thanks for calling that out, Subham. And then I'm glad that we got to just quickly review the changes that you'll make to those project badge PRs. Sounds like you totally understand and you'll knock it out. So great. And then as an update from Anand, sounds like Anand, you're currently working on. Actually, guys, hold the phone for a minute. There's some background noise here. Let me just go take care of that. Hold on. Hey. Yeah. So. Yeah. All right, very good. I have a Labrador, and she likes to come inside the house because it's hot here in Texas. I've been told it's like hot in South India as well, or in like all of India. You guys sound like a bunch of whiners. I don't know. I heard it's pretty humid. Yeah, yeah. I bet it's humid in the southern part of Texas. It gets pretty bad because there's the Gulf of Mexico comes up, and but my sense of it is that I think like where I live is not classified as, well, what is southern India classified as in terms of a geographic area? Like a so like it's not a desert, it's not a
It's tropical.
tropical. Yeah, yeah. I do not live in a tropical place, so I'm sure that you guys have worse humidity. Okay, cool. Cool. Okay, sorry. Total distraction. Anyway, I kicked my dog back out into the. I literally kicked my dog just now. No, I'm kidding. Back into the humidity. But we were about to talk about Anand, who's working on checking the Docker container, checking whether or not Docker containers are running or not before opening up the web browser. Awesome. That's fantastic, Anand, because it's just a bad user experience when the browser comes up and it's blank and people left scratching their head. Hey, is Meshery broken? What's wrong with this tool? And then you're saying, but for now, what you've done up to now is to rerun Meshery if those containers are not starting. And then if Meshery fails again after the first failure, so if Meshery fails twice, then you're outputting the logs of that failure on the CLI, on the shell. But otherwise, if the containers are running, the browser will go ahead and start right away. So as long as I've interpreted what you typed, this behavior sounds really close to what we're looking for. That sounds pretty darn good. The one change that I would make, or the way in which I would characterize it slightly differently, is, and maybe you're already accounting for this, and if you are, it's great, but so the core of what we're hoping to improve here is when someone runs a mesh restart and Docker Compose is invoked and Docker Compose begins to spin up the set of Meshery containers, that there's a check, that what we're looking to include here is a check that only executes the browser open command after the Meshery container, not any of the other containers, just the Meshery container is in a running state. And I think you already understand that, Ananda. I think that's what you're kind of working toward. As part of working toward that, you're also trying to, I think, make the start procedure a little more robust by way of setting a restart policy, right? Having if one of the containers fails, start it. You're telling Docker to start it again. And I think, if they fail twice, then what you're doing is spitting out a copy of the error logs. And so that sounds pretty fantastic. Garish, I feel a little bit embarrassed here because I feel like I should have a suggestion off the top of my tongue. But do you have a suggestion as to what would be the best mechanism to use from Go determining the running state of a given container?
Docker client is actually the best way to do it. Yeah. Now the question is in Meshery CTLR, you guys are actually using an exec to run the Docker compose. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason why I asked that is when you're using Docker compose to run the container, the container name, if you guys have noticed it, it'll actually be it'll have a pattern. So instead of using the ID, because the ID is going to be, you don't know the ID when you run a Docker compose up, which means at that point in time, you don't have control of it. In the Go code, I think a much easier thing. Yeah. So now since so when you execute the command and say start, it does not tell you the, I think it will print out the container names probably, but not the container IDs. So the only thing is that so yeah, if you can actually maybe get the names from there or determine the name of the container and use that to check if the container is up and running, I think that'll actually be a good way to do it. To check really if a container is up and running, you can actually use a Docker client. There is a Go Docker client, and I think it's pretty straightforward to actually use. You don't have to invoke anything. You just have to talk to the Docker APIs and then figure it out. I think that will actually be a decent way for you to actually determine that.
For Krish, actually, I was you were talking about getting out getting the name of the containers.
So you already have parsed it?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. So if you already parsed it, so you now have the container name, so you should be able to use the Docker client APIs to actually talk to Docker to understand what the state of the container is. Yeah, that should be very straightforward. You should find examples all over the internet. But if you have issues, I mean, feel free to ping, and I'll definitely try my best to help you. But I'm pretty sure you should be able to.
Can you please just debrief it again, which I was not able to hear.
Okay. So Anand, you know what? Ping me on Slack, and maybe we can actually take this forward. I think that'll be much easier. Here, I can pretty hardly hear you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. Who's next? Is that Nikhil? Are you up?
Ali, if you want to talk about something else.
Oh, sorry. I was talking to myself. Nikhil. Nikhil, maybe we could take a quick peek at some of the issue that you're working on.
Yes, sure. Actually, the thing which I was working on when I tried to rectify the error and try to build the Meshery again, I was not able to see any changes in the file. Means when I was running the Meshery again on the browser, no changes were seen on the browser. So I tried to contact Gish. He said that maybe the file was not in right place, but I found that the file was right in the place, but still I was not able to see any changes. So not able to rectify how may I notice the changes that I'm doing? Because just a second, I am sharing my screen.
Cool, that will be perfect.
Is it visible?
Yep. Yep, we can see it. Looks good.
Yeah. After the build, when I start the Meshery, I have done the changes regarding this files. Navigator.js, there was a line which I was asked to open the community tab in the new page. So when I tried to open it in a new page, just a second. Some issue with the net. And yeah, when I tried to open the Meshery app again, the thing was not working. Actually, I was not able to see any changes. So just a second, yeah. Yes. Suppose I did a change over here. I changed the link to google.com, and I built the Meshery file again and restarted the Meshery. But still, when I opened the localhost, the Meshery site, there was no changes in the community link. The same link was showing up, and it is again opening the layer 5 Meshery.
Right, Nikhil. So there is a fundamental difference. So when you make a code change, so if you really want to work the way you're doing it, then you will have to actually do something else. I'm sorry, I totally for like I mean, I was under the assumption that you were running Meshery on your local. I mean, in the sense you're running it out of Docker. Now, okay, so I now understand your problem. So you're running it in Docker. So what you need to do is like after you make a change, you have to run, make Docker from the Meshery folder, and then restart Meshery. Does that make sense?
Okay. I'll give a try to that.
Yeah. So I mean, make the change. You don't have to do anything. Like I mean, like, I'm sorry. The previous command I gave you was actually like for like a local run. So forget about it. Like so make your change. Rocker. It'll take about like 5 minutes. Once that is done, stop Meshery and then start Meshery, and I'm pretty sure you should be able to see the change.
Means I need to create a Docker file in the Meshery folder and then run it again for the localhost.
No. Docker file is already there.
Okay. So I just need to.
You just go. Yeah, you just go inside. In your terminal. So I mean, make your change in your terminal. Can you go to Meshery folder?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here, all you have to do is do make Docker. You just run that command, make Docker. That's it. That'll take care of it for you. Yeah, and then do a Meshery stop and then Meshery start, and you should be able to see your changes.
Okay. Sure. I'll give it a try to that today.
Awesome. Yeah, feel free to ping me. Like I mean, if you have any issues, I think now I understand the issue better. So yeah, this is great.
Yes, sure.
Awesome. Good. Okay. Well, we have about 14 minutes left. Are there other before we talk about new business, so to speak, before we talk about new issues, are there any other items that you guys are working on that already that we would do well to talk about? Nice. Okay, good deal. And so if not, there's a couple of things that we should go over because I think some of you guys will finish up that work before we meet again next week. And by the way, next week, I'll make sure that we're scheduled for Wednesday. That was my fault. I forgot to get it on the calendar, and so we missed yesterday. Couple things to look at. So one, I know that different contributors have more or less familiarity with GitHub, and so I'm going to highlight something quickly to the extent that it's not obvious, and that is within each repository. So this is the layer 5 website. What you're able to do when you look at issues is filter based on assignee. So in this case, if we choose Madhab, there are 4 items that he could potentially knock out. And so Madhab, you're currently working on this first one. Excellent. I'm going to briefly touch on each of the assignments that you guys have now so that you have an understanding of what they are in case there was any questions. So Madhab, this one will take us a couple minutes to look at, and it's an important one. The request here is really on the same page, the same Meshery page that you're working on now. It has a section that talks about community that you're familiar with, but it's when to the lazy reader, when they come here and they kind of look at Meshery and they're trying to get you an understanding of it, and they're sort of quickly scrolling through, and oh, maybe they stop here, and when you're done, they'll just be able to click and go run it. What isn't as obvious to them, I don't think, what doesn't jump out to them as well is the fact that we're really rather open and welcoming of people coming to the community and participating. And what I think would help, while we have links to all the ways in which they can engage, I think what would help call attention to it is if we had a subset of probably these same icons. That subset would be it would be an icon that we don't have now, which is a Google Drive icon, so that they can join, they can get access to the community drive. Anyway, I won't go through the list, but I think you get it. Yeah. Yep, and Madhab, go ahead. I think you were going to say something, so yeah, please do.
Yeah, after finishing the talks, the copy to Clipper talks, I will look into this.
Nice. Yeah, feel free to use some creative freedoms, I think. I think that off the top of my head, when we look at that page, the color scheme is fairly consistent, and that's great. Like there's 1 to 2 shades of kind of grayish green, and there's a light blue, and that's pretty well consistently adhered to, right? But I think it also makes the page slightly drab, maybe slightly boring. We don't want to have too many flashy things and confusing people and calling attention every which way, because then people don't even know what to look at. But in this case, I guess my point is, as you consider having a YouTube icon, a Google Drive icon, and a Slack icon, and potentially this email icon, one for each of the ways that they can engage, maybe those should be in color, because maybe that would just draw attention. Maybe it would look nicer. So think about it.
Okay, I will do it as a base possible.
Okay. Ping me when you start to work on it. If you don't have access to these assets, these should be SVGs that you can, and they are, this is an SVG that you can take and manipulate and recolor if needed. Let me know if I can help with that. That wouldn't be an issue for me to go colorize these and or create a Google Drive icon. And so yeah, when you get to it, just signal. So good. Okay, that's that one. I think that's important. I think people miss it, and that's too bad, because I'd love to see more people engaged. This next one, I'm trying to remember if you already knocked it out. I'm not sure. The alternating colors in each of the rows, that's been done. At one point, we talked about the ability to click to sort ascending, descending.
Yeah, we have talked it before also.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that one is outstanding, correct? Yeah. Okay, good. So you understand that one, but it's just on the to-do list. Okay, good. Real quickly, this one is just the notion that we've presented Meshery a couple of places, and I believe this one was with Garish as well. So the two of us there presenting Meshery at a KubeCon workshop. This was back when Garish had less gray hair, but he still looks good either way. Anyway, if we could get this posted, that would be great, because I think that helps people. I think it adds value to the site. Okay. So quickly, so anyway, as you guys look through your own issues and you see the ones that are assigned to you, given that we only have 7 minutes left, do you guys have questions on any of the ones that are assigned to you across the repositories? I'm going to bring up a different repo and see what we've got. Meshery. Anand. Okay. So Nand, this one's a little bit like what we were just talking about. I think this is still an open item. Any questions on this one? This would go into the docs. I think you did get these presentations, these resources up. So that's certainly done. Also, okay, I think you did this as well. I think this might be done actually. Console Connect from available in progress. Great. We actually need to take an issue to move Octarine up just as soon as Chaim adds some documentation. So Anand, I'm gonna close this out because I think you're good.
Yeah.
Cool. Good. Okay. And then you're actively working on this one. Okay. So it's obvious to me that you need another issue lined up after this.
Yeah, sure.
Nice. And then Mata, I feel bad, man, because there's like 5 of them lined up for you. But and by the way, guys, I just kind of hand these out to the extent that I think that they align with your current focus or your skill set. But if you guys want to switch these up and exchange them and stuff, I mean, feel free. I'm just trying to get us going. This particular request, any questions on this one? Does this make intuitive sense?
Yeah, Ali, actually, I couldn't find the particular link that you said the edited page.
Oh, okay.
Can you help me with that?
Yeah. So to describe this one briefly, it's when you're in the Meshery docs, as a reader is coming through and looking at pages, maybe they find a typo, or maybe they want to add something. It would be ideal if at the bottom of every page, if it just had this small, edit this page link. And in order to facilitate that, the Meshery docs, it is a Jekyll site, just like the Layer 5 site is. There are some variables, site-wide variables that we could use to create that edit page link. And this is kind of an example of what one might look like. I think that we do not have a site level variable for a GitHub repo. So for sure, inside of the docs code, inside of the config YAML for the docs Jekyll site, there would need to be a new parameter called, GitHub repo or something to that effect that has the hyperlink to this repo. When you combine that plus the file path variable, or I'm sorry, file path, variable, file path parameter, then you'd be able to form an entire URL to the page. So the result being when someone clicks edit this page, when they're in the docs, they click that, they're redirected to the specific location in GitHub for that page.
I got it.
Cool. Okay, very good. Just a couple minutes left. Nikhil, I think this one's a little bothersome, Nikhil. It just happened recently. You can see it when you go visit the docs page, or the docs. There's something amiss. I am not quite clear on what changed that's throwing the menu off. It looks like there's an additional menu button here that probably doesn't belong. We didn't have a menu button in the past.
So, do you want me to remove the button or make the button active?
Yeah, I think remove it if you would, because when you're on the docs page, the menu is here. Actually, you just navigate through this menu here.
Yeah. That only I saw, because in the code it is toggle. Actually, the menu button is set to toggle, but it's not working like a toggle.
Weird. Okay.
So it's already displaying the navigation, the list that is there inside the menu button. So it's better to remove the button. But if you say to toggle it to make the menu button toggle, then I have to do it.
Your first suggestion sounds great, to just remove the menu button, because and then when you do, hopefully this whole menu slides all the way back up here. And then this Meshery docs goes back into this little quadrant right here as like the home page.
Okay.
Cool.
I'll look at it.
Awesome. Okay, very good. All right. Subham. All right, you're knocking out the project badges. Great. And then I think, Subham, I think you're done here, right? Have you been able to get a new build and kind of verify that this is working? Yep. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't have the new build yet. Okay, very good. Nice. Yeah, but you'll do it. I've been trying to do it as well. I downloaded VirtualBox and a Ubuntu VM, and I was going to give it a try myself to just help verify. But yeah, between the two of us, we'll get it verified. So awesome. All right. Well, shoot. We're actually a minute over, so that's most of the stuff. This has been a great call. Anything that you guys need to talk about before we jump off? You guys are picking up the pace, by the way. This is nice. This is a fairly consistent, set of work that's being done. It's great. And then I'll say this. I'll offer this up. I'll say, so Anand and Subham have an item that's coming to them in the mail, and Madhav and Nikhil, to the extent that you guys hang around long enough, and if you're contributing long enough, if you want it, we can get the same thing out to you guys. So I don't know. I keep building it up, and it's not really that big of a thing, but just when you guys see it, you'll know. So just wanted to say thanks for participating. It's good to have you guys.
Thank you.
I see.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So tomorrow about this time, right? We'll see you guys then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
sure.
Nice. All right. I'll go kick my dog and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yes. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very nice.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.